but you're probably never going to have more than a couple of big opportunities for your way in your life. Being locked in many senses almost sets you free because you're not thinking of what all the other options are. You kind of, you know what you need to do.
I purposefully try to eliminate plan Bs and Cs so that it's not even a thought. I can just only look at plan A. Otherwise, it's just a game over.
From nightclub promoter to building Australia's largest private co-working empire, this is the story of Brad Krauskopf.
You're not saying, don't ever change your plan. It's knowing.
Brad Krauskopf, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
I'm very excited to have you today, and more importantly, I'm excited to tell everybody a little bit about your story because I think it's quite fascinating, and also what you've achieved here in Australia. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and maybe what you're known for?
Yeah. So Brad Krauskopf, I'm most commonly known as the founder and CEO of Hub Australia. Also known as father to one daughter, married, live in Melbourne, been in Melbourne all my life, but also got an interesting family background and I've lived overseas in Spain and in the US. And always been self-employed, and in particular, Hub has now grown into Australia's largest privately owned co-working business. Wow. Still, often a lot of people don't completely get the co-working. Still have it as a vision of big open room with lots of startups in it. But Hub actually has 16 locations across the country in each major city. Every day, hundreds of businesses and thousands of people from their teams come into Hub. Generally speaking, a customer at Hub will have 5, anywhere up to 50 staff, but sometimes even 100 people, and quite often those people are from much larger organisations again, including corporate and government. And in particular, they choose Hub because ultimately it helps them attract and retain the best talent. Hub's got a positioning at the premium end with a strong focus on a hospitality experience. We consider ourselves a hospitality business.
Nice. And take me back to you as a young guy, Brad. How did you decide you were going to be self-employed, entrepreneurial? Where does it come from?
Yeah, sure thing. Look, undoubtedly that comes from my parents. Mum and dad were self-employed, or they certainly were the whole time that they were here in Australia, or maybe they got their start probably about 5 to 10 years of working in hotels. They actually met at a hotel in Scotland. Dad's from Germany, mum's from Australia. They met in Scotland and then ended up back here, worked their way up in hotels here into management roles, and then got their big break and someone backed them into starting a small boutique hotel, and that was really what they were into the whole time that I was around. So as essentially I was born into an entrepreneurial family. They had a range of different hotels over the time. They were always small, like 50-person. They were classic small business people. A huge focus on the customer and their team, and delivering a really quality product, and probably to the extent that they was very much focused on quality rather than quantity in terms of how they grew their business. So I feel like I definitely picked up that entrepreneurial small business traits from them, but also the hospitality side of things. Like, I don't think I actually ever sat there and thought, okay, I'm going to go and get a job and work my way up in this particular career. I've always been self-employed.
Yeah, right. So was it after school or something like that where you realised, I'm just not cut out for the corporate route?
It's almost like you never even actually thought about it.
Okay. Yeah,
There's certainly many times where I've now been in my small business where I've gone, oh God, well, should I have picked something? Should I have picked a different route here?
Yeah.
But I had a couple of small business things while I was at school. I think I sold a newspaper at the primary school for 10 cents a copy or something at one point, through to various different side hustles, I guess it would have been, or what we now call them these days. But then my first business were all around event management and nightclubs. So that was pretty much my whole 20s. I got to work on different businesses. That was the emergence of the rave scene back in the 90s, and then going on to some festivals and what forth. So that was like my businesses in my 20s. But at some point realised that wasn't going to be the business for me to go into the next decade with. Also the other business that I had of significance was an IT infrastructure business. Grew that during my early 30s. In the end, that was one that I didn't end up, or my exit from that one was not, the big exit that everybody likes to talk about. The business still lives on, but no longer with me there. And that brings me all the way up to it's now 15 years ago that started up Hub Australia. I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about that. But an interesting bit there, I bookended the businesses with living and studying overseas. So one time in the US, at the end of in my mid-20s, after the event management side of things, and then in Spain, in Madrid, in my mid-30s, in terms of actually in between each one of those ones, which I think were interesting inflection points.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, so why were you overseas? So the majority of your businesses you'd started and run here, and then you'd gone and taken a break in the US and also in Europe?
That's correct.
Why was it?
Was lucky enough to combine that with study. So in the US, I was at Babson in Boston. Super small school, like really well known if you're in the US from a business side of things, but certainly not the not the Ivy League ones that we all know about. But that was an amazing experience living over there in Boston,
studying
business courses. I was actually on the exchange program from my courses back here, my undergrad courses at Monash.
Nice.
But yeah, got to go over there for 12 months, which was just an amazing experience and very different from the undergrad Australia type experience. When I was in Madrid, that was doing an MBA at Instituto de Empresa over there. And that, again, another great experience, which could have taken me in lots of different directions. But yeah, somehow Melbourne kept on clawing me back.
Okay, even with its cold weather.
Even with its cold weather. Yeah, one time I think after the US experience, it was actually the .com crash, so early 2000s, and there just wasn't as many jobs around. So it was something that took me in one direction. When I came back from the US, that probably partly had to do with had also got back together with a old girlfriend who's now my wife. So there's different bits, you set off on one path and then something else has other ideas for you.
Totally. So tell me, Brad, why did you decide, because you had a few small businesses running already, why did you then decide to study after that?
Look, good question. In some senses, it almost validated my ability I hadn't got out, for instance, with money that meant that I was, going to go and run around and not work again for a year, but was able to, but was in a position that I could do something. And I guess with the education side of things, it gave me a backdrop to meet people, to learn new things. On reflection, maybe I could have done that with a 3-month and go and sit on a beach somewhere or just go somewhere else and think through things. But providing I guess almost a structure for a period of time enabled me to really think through the what next. And when I was in Spain, it was off the back of the GFC. It was actually so you're talking about 2008, 2009. You literally did have some people thinking, is this the end of capitalism on one extreme, and certainly a great deal of frustration with the, for instance, a lot of the bailouts that happened at the time.
Yes.
So what was the, you privatise profits, but socialise the people getting bailouts. There's a word for it of what there was a catchphrase for it at the time, but that ability to be a part of a period there where there was a lot of innovation. There were a lot of people coming together on different startups. In many cases, or if not in most cases, the freelance economy was also short for, well, actually I got fired. So people were coming together and literally just hustling to try and make a living. And of course, where people did that in large part was they came into co-working spaces. And so whether you were in London or you were in San Francisco or you were in Melbourne or Tokyo or anywhere there, the technology had got to a point that there was enough connectivity, and we weren't doing high-speed internet back then. Facebook did not even exist. Oh, sorry, Facebook existed.
Very early days.
But very early
Yes.
days. Sorry, we're 15 years ago now. Yeah. So yes, there, but not by a long shot. But the level of communication had got to a point where you could, for instance, put out an invite online, which would then mean that people knew where to go to for a co-working day or things like that. So there was enough new ways of connecting that people were able to meet that previously weren't able to meet. And I think now I guess everything's changed in terms of where our ability to connect and make friends and relationships and what forth has happened. But a big part of that back in 2008, 2009, people got together at co-working spaces because it actually provided that human connection that they'd lost as they no longer got to go into the workplace. And that was a big part of what the real value offering was for co-working at the time.
So why did you decide to choose co-working out of everything you could have chosen?
It's a good call. So I'll give you two reasons, and both of them are absolutely valid. They're two sides of the same coin, though. One of them was the previous business that I was in, the IT infrastructure business. Let's say by the end of it, I didn't like going into work there. As in, I went in there was about 15 of us. We were doing the same thing every day, and for those people in IT infrastructure, you only ever hear about something when it's bad. It's one of those services, and there are many industries like this, but it's a thankless task. And it was very much like it was the the same kind of conversations and people every single day. And then suddenly I was in a co-working environment, and it was diverse people doing different things from different businesses, from different industries. And it was actually like a revelation. It's like every day I came in to build this co-working community, which I actually first came across a group getting together, Hub Madrid. When I was in Spain. So I actually came back with the intention and the idea of starting up Hub. But I was essentially enamored with the experience of working to create a co-working community back then in 2008, 2009, and everything that could create. I'd also say that once you get into this business, it's incredibly intensive from the lease commitments and balance sheet commitments you make. So in some cases I got into it, but I also couldn't get out of it anymore. So there's certainly there wasn't a plan B. Once you were in and
you sign a
you're
commercial
off,
lease, it's finished.
One of the big sells of a flexible office is that you don't have to sign that, but somebody does, and in that case that was me. And interestingly, back with the family business and hotels, like I could have gone into that. I had the opportunity to go into that business with mum and dad, but one of the reasons I specifically decided not to was because it was so capital intensive.
Huge,
and then here I am 20 years later after having said no to it, and I've gone and made the same mistake.
Exactly.
But I guess that's partly, was it a mistake, or was it also, hang on, that's what was in the DNA, and you're following in the footsteps of what you know.
You said there was two reasons why you chose co-working. The one
that I couldn't get out of it once.
Okay, interesting.
And look where I also do think there's a lot of value in the workplace, which I think is really interesting when you compare it to what work is and what the workplace is in 2025, is if you can have a great experience when you're at your workplace, it helps your well-being. It helps your outlook. It helps your capacity to have an awesome time when you're not at work, when you're with your family, when you're working on your own personal projects. If you have something weighing you down at work, or you're not having a good experience there, then essentially all the stuff that you're doing outside of work is trying to balance that out, or is being pulled down by the bad experience you're having at work, rather than propped up because you're having a great experience at work. So you get all this energy and all of this.
You just feel better.
Yeah,
more productive.
And so when I could see people in at Hub, and you can feel that they're having a good experience, and when people are having that great experience at Hub, that we've had an impact on helping create that. Yes, it's got to do with the business that they're working for, the one that's decided to put their team at Hub, but we've really had an impact there, and that's amazing. And it's not we get to see the person for 5 minutes or what for. This is like they come in every day, and so you actually develop bonds with them. You become part of their experience there, and that's been a great gain and benefit I've seen from Hub and what we do.
I think it's so important to provide the right environment, and I mean, you've obviously seen our office, and I've gone to great lengths to also make it a really welcoming and warm environment for my team, because it's huge for me. I'm curious, Brad, you touched on earlier, and I thought it was quite insightful around requiring large capital to execute on Hub. In hindsight, do you think almost not having a plan B or a way out is one of the big reasons why you've succeeded?
Definitely. I think also we have been able to raise capital at many times throughout the life cycle of Hub, albeit on varying terms. We'll talk about the experience during the pandemic in a moment. But there's a double-edged sword here. So having that capital also gave me a luxury of spending longer than I should have to get the business model right, to stop burning cash, to be self-funding. And so yes, you're locked in, which is great. In fact, there's being locked in many senses almost sets you free, because you're not thinking of what all the other options are. You kind of, you know what you need to do.
Yeah, I think that's actually gold, Brad, because my philosophy is burn the boats, which comes from Tony Robbins, of course. But I've always felt like the only way, and I purposefully try to eliminate plan Bs and Cs so that it's not even a thought. I can just only look at plan A, and otherwise it's just a game over.
Agreed. Multiple options. Actually, it almost connects in with what I'm saying there is if you've got a large amount of capital in the bank, it essentially gives you runway, some more time to work on more options. And what you're not saying, don't ever change your plan. It's knowing when to change and then zero in on it.
That's right.
But we ultimately opened Hub Melbourne in September of 2011. It had taken a year of messing around in Melbourne before it was open, and then of course there was 2 years in Spain before that of me working over there. So there was a long time between paychecks, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
So there was that part, and then we spent from 2011 to 2016. We did expand, but ultimately there was a big cost of being first in market and being the innovator, where we did not work out a business model that worked until 2016. So I'd spent 5 years there, and of course 3 years before that. And then in 2016, we opened up Hub Southern Cross, and that was an absolute inflection point, which I'll talk about a bit in a moment. But having that 5 years and burning that amount of cash beforehand meant that by the time we got to working on a business model that worked, you just never know what timing is going to give you. So of course we had 5 years, and from 2016 to 2020, March 2020 is when the world of work got upended, first of all by a pandemic, but then by Australia's lust and vigour for working from home, which has stuck, of course. So there's bits there where we took too long to find a profitable business model, but then something that wasn't in our control then took another 5 years away from us, and now suddenly you're up to 15 years. So the amount of capital that's been required to go through that, and the amount of, I guess, that you're running a marathon, not a sprint, even though you didn't know it at the start, so you sprinted. It requires a whole lot of personal work and checks and balances along the way.
Why do you think, looking back, why do you think it took the first 5 years to find a model that would work?
I was definitely a bit naive and starry-eyed. To that point there, there was some capital there, so I bootstrapped for too long when I should have. I really needed to have committed to, becoming profitable earlier. So there was a little bit there of she'll be right. Another one in terms of why it took so long was we expanded from our Melbourne base into Sydney and Adelaide before we'd even got the prototype right, and that was a critical mistake.
Expanding too early without having a nailed product to market fit.
And like when I say we hadn't nailed it, like I'm not just talking like we've worked out our revenue, like we had not nailed anything. And then suddenly we were in Sydney and in Adelaide. And then what should have taken then 6 to 12 months to work out our processes and get the right people in the right seats on the bus took us a few years. And and then suddenly you've burnt more capital. You've taken up time that you wouldn't have otherwise had. So I really have a strong conviction, and that one of the key learnings I've got from this 15 years is needing to prove up your model fast, figure out where you're heading, and have the right people on the bus. Because you never know when your plans are going to get made by somebody else. So you can be in control very little. So you've got to make sure that for those times where you get a few free months to actually implement your plan before you have to change it, you want to make sure you use it wisely.
I think I was reading a while ago that I think it was April 2024 was the highest number of bankruptcies in Australia, which is quite an interesting since the GFC, sorry, which I thought was quite an interesting stat. And what sort of that reminded me of in a great way was how delicate business is, and it doesn't take a lot to tip a business or tip many businesses, which we saw coming out of, which we saw going into COVID, but which we also saw quite aggressively. Coming out of COVID, a lot of businesses had just burnt through cash. So I suppose the question is, how do you get the right people on your team as someone who's, I think, probably gotten quite good at it over the past 15 years?
Yeah. Let's go trial and error on that one. And initially, I wish I had got it right the first time. But the first one is to recognise that I think people get it, that the team you need when you're a 1-person or a 10-person business is going to be different to the team you need when you're a 100-person or a 500-person business. And I think we start it, and then we develop relationships and what forth, and then of course you maybe forget that. But it's common sense that it's going to need to evolve. So you've really got to commit to your business and to yourself, that you will let that culture of your team and of course the one of the biggest ways that you let a culture evolve is you have different people come into it. So you've really got to commit to yourself and to the people around you that you're not going to give them the wrong idea that this is a role for forever kind of thing, and constantly work to evolve people so that their next job may well not be with you, but that's success for them in their career, because it keeps them moving. And one of the things, particularly with a lot of the people that do work at Hub, two of the most or the two largest roles, or the two most numerous roles at Hub, people that are in the cafe or people that are at the welcome desk. And often when they join Hub, some of them get a little bit taken back when I do my intro meeting, where it's kind of like, you're going to leave Hub. And it's kind of like, of course you're going to leave Hub. You're 20-something, and hopefully you're here for not 6 months but a few years, and you're here for a great time. And tell me what's the next role you're going to be, so that we can help develop your career, create connections, and what forth, so that when you hand in your resignation in a couple of years, we can high five and go, hey, this has been awesome, and move on to that next role. So it's how you can set up a culture of development, which will ultimately assist as well with creating opportunities for people to move to other companies, create opportunities as you're growing for new people to come in and grow out your leadership team with the people that you need at that point in the stage of your growth.
I think that's so important. Building a business isn't just about filling your pockets, but it's also about building people.
Spot on. And you mentioned the stat about the bankruptcies. So, I'm sure many people who are listening would know Jim Collins and his BHAG and what forth, and the original version of that was the 10 to 20 year goal, and then you have your 5-year plans and what forth. And my thinking now is more got down to your BHAG's probably 3 to 5 years, and your business plan is maybe 2 to 3 years, but maybe your business plan's 1 year. And then you've got your implementation plans of your 6 months. It's the timelines are getting smaller. Part of sometimes I'm shocked when somebody will point out that the average length of a business is only a few years. I think it is.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get the exact right stat for that one. And then also there's only a few % of businesses that have more than 100 people. So, of course, there's many that have lots more people than that, but most businesses are really small, and a lot of businesses do go bankrupt. And if anything, I think with all of these timelines compressing, I think that figure of the bankruptcies going up, there is a hangover effect there of a delayed delayed impact of the recession and what forth around the pandemic, and people adapting to new business models that, put simply, the business model they needed in 2019 isn't valid.
Doesn't work
in 2025. But I think going forward, what we'll find is that bankruptcies will continue to increase because, put simply, the life cycle of a business is going to be shorter and shorter.
Yeah, especially with online. I'm finding in the last 12, 18 months that with AI and with online now, you can really try to hunt feedback very quickly. And so interestingly enough, I had a sports professional on the other day, and their feedback transitioning from professional sport to business it's amazing how slow the feedback is. You potentially make a decision and wait 3, 6, 9, 12 months before you know if it was right, whereas in sports you throw the ball the wrong way and it was the wrong way. Or you've got 100 people shouting at you, so it was the wrong way. And
like
so
you'll call a timeout, literally in the game,
exactly,
and go quickly change it.
But in saying that, I also feel like since COVID, the feedback loop has tightened a hell of a lot more, and so being fast to respond to that has taken a different breed, a different human. Yep.
And this is partly a case for why all businesses should have at least part or even all of their workspace requirements being fulfilled by flex operators and co-working, but also declaring a big challenge with my model is all of what we both just said about the short timelines, and then I need to sign 10-year leases. And not only is it a 10-year lease, but it also might be a level of investment in office fit out that regardless of how much the ATO says that you should depreciate it over by, at a minimum, the only way that I'll get a return on it is if that fit out that I do is useful for 5 to 10 years. Otherwise, I will never have been able to get a return on it. And certainly the desk rate that I need to charge all of my customers, they're not going to pay it. So I've got to get a fit out right for 5 to 10 years. Whereas though people are making business decisions or product decisions which are measured in weeks or months, and filling that gap is it's almost a challenge of every business, and particularly it's been one of the challenges with Hub of how do we innovate at the pace of technology whilst we're constrained by the timelines of leases and getting return on high fixed capital.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's a tough balance.
It's tremendously frustrating and mind-boggling, and but somewhere in there is your business and is your profit. So really tackling that, and certainly what I was saying before for teams, for businesses is choosing workspace is absolutely critical to how you build your culture and your leaders. But also figuring out how to have something that's malleable and constantly adapt to whichever direction your business is going is something that you need to make it a deliberate decision. Thinking that it doesn't matter where you have your workspace, or if you make the decision, I'm going to be all remote, or I'm going to outsource. These are deliberate decisions that every entrepreneur and our CEO is going to need to make, and they really, really matter. We did each year we do a research report that we put out to the market and share. Last year it's called our Love Where You Work report. Last year we saw a noticeable shift from the amount of time that people were looking to spend in the office in the next 12 months went up dramatically, or dramatically, as in it went from 2 to 3 days that people were thinking of spending into the office. Now it's more like 3 to 4, 4 to 5, and so we saw that tip. But the single biggest reason that people were giving, so over 50% of the respondents, were the social connections. So you might, as a CEO might think, oh, hang on, people don't need my office to work. But it's like, they're not part of your company because they just want to work. They are part of your company because they want to be a part of something bigger. They want to have relationships with the people that, and that's just working relationships. It might be even other relationships. So, the work and the work community that you have there, it's a big part of your existence, and certainly like these days, it's a big part of your identity. It's a whole nother podcast on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a big part of what makes somebody. And so when you choose your workspace, that matters for your team. And I really encourage all CEOs and founders to really take the time to think through, do I have remote first? Do I choose WeWork? Do I choose Hub? What is that workspace that I'm going to select? Because it's going to have a big impact on your culture.
What do you say to the business owners or the decision makers that just don't see value in fancy fit outs? They believe you just need a desk and a computer.
Yeah. So there's a co-working space for that. I think. So it's a terrible word, but one of the words thrown around our industry at the moment is that we're going through a period of hotelification.
Okay.
So I guess think of it this way: if I said to you, on my next holiday, I'm going to go and stay at the Sofitel, or I'm going to stay at the Novotel, or I'm going to stay at the Mercure. You have just put labels on each of the different things that I've got. They're each Accor brands. There was a 3-star, there was a 4-star, there was a 5-star. You may not have even stayed at any of those 3 hotels, but you probably know which one's which and what kind of experience from just those brands. We're seeing that same thing come through to workspaces. So just like I can make the choice to spend $1,000 a night, or I can spend $100 a night, so can the CEO that wants to have the cheaper desk. The unit there is a desk, just like at the hotel. It's a room or it's a bed. But ultimately, what I'm paying for is the experience. And now, I'm not saying that the $100 choice is the wrong choice. I'm actually saying that it's only the wrong choice if you've chosen that for your business and that doesn't represent who you are. Likewise, if you're somebody selling things with 1% margin at a low cost, you probably better not pick the $1,000 a night hotel. You got to pick the right one that fits your business. And one of the great things with the emergence of co-working and flex is there is now a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. There is a Sofitel, there is a Mercure, there is a Novotel for your business.
That's right.
And the great thing is you might choose the Novotel one time, but the other time you'll choose the Sofitel. So let's make those choices for your business. So I'm absolutely fine for the CEO who's saying let's get the cheap desk, but recognise it's a deliberate decision that will end up feeding into your culture and your brand. So make sure you pick the right one for you.
Brad, how do you juggle being an entrepreneur of 15 years? How do you juggle stress?
Well, let me see. It's ranged everything from alcohol through to health and wellness, through to taking care of myself, through to not taking care of myself. It's gone on a whole range. Like having that, I can talk. I'm quite happy to be open about that. Like the whole 15-year experience of Hub, it's not like I've done meditation every day and I've done my exercise and all of that kind of stuff. And look, you often have that. The founder looking back and sharing those tips and what for. Look, I do have good tips that are working for me now.
Please. But
also this is not what I've been doing every day for the last 15 years. There's certainly been times where, I haven't been managing that well. Look, sometimes you're not managing it well enough that you also don't realise it. Other times I can reflect that, hang on a second, I definitely wasn't bringing my A game during that period. Look, as I have got older here, and certainly having a daughter keeps you honest. Like my daughter's 7 now. It was easier to get away with stuff when she wasn't around.
Yeah.
But it's you can't fake it all the time. What I've also found is particularly when my business and my world got upended by COVID hitting in early 2020, is the need for me to be taking better care of myself. Went to an extreme level. And certainly the last few years, I've definitely had to get more on the health and wellness tip. Having a structure to my day is super helpful.
What does the structure look like?
So at the moment, it is aspiring to get up at 5 o'clock and getting up somewhere between 5 and 7, but more often than not between 5 and 6. Doing some fitness stuff, then doing some meditation, and then reading. So I literally, up until about 5 years ago, I think I maybe read, completed, started hundreds, completed maybe 5 books in 15 years of my life, like reading a book or something like that. I read heaps when I was a kid. Then literally I could never finish a book. In the last couple of years, trying to read a little bit of a business book, so like some kind of like right now I'm reading Andre Agassi's book, which is actually just an awesome book. I don't read many sports biographies. In fact, I don't think I've ever read a sports biography, but it's a great one. And then in the evening reading a novel. And so 10 pages is my target in the morning and 10 pages at night. Maybe get to about 5 to 10, but most pages each. But most days I do that. When you get to the end of the year, that adds up to about 20 books or something, which is awesome. Planning the day with a handwritten diary. One of the new things I've done with that one is I now do that at the end of the day for the following day.
Yes.
So it's kind of like write all that there, and like all the things are in my calendar in my my phone, but I write out all of the to-do list there. So some fitness work, some meditation, reflecting stuff, and then some reading. If I can do all of that before 7 o'clock, I've just like set myself up for a great day. Like it's just awesome to be able to have that time to yourself.
And you raise a good point about it not always being in balance or perfect. I think it can be really tough, especially with social media. You see a lot of people with, allegedly very strict routines that maybe look fantastic online, and the reality of that is business is often a game of no balance or little balance. Sometimes you have periods of immense balance and it's wonderful because you can get your routine done daily, but sometimes you go through periods where it's not possible. You just need to focus on specific things, and it's all consuming and just doesn't happen.
Agreed. But yeah, if I can get that start of the day as mine, that's just awesome. Another one that I've done this year, I don't have email or Slack on my phone.
Yes, I'm the same.
Yes,
I've got it in case of emergencies, but I have no more notifications.
I haven't had notifications, right? I actually don't have it. So when you get to the movie ticket line,
yes,
and you haven't printed your ticket or something like that, you actually have to download the app and I have, and I delete it.
Yeah,
because put simply, there are absolutely things that I need to respond to immediately. My team knows that if they need an immediate response, they call me. They don't email it to me. And not having that email on my phone, who knows how much time that's had me not on my phone this year so far. So it's been great.
Yeah, it's just also the mental capacity of not stressing about what might be there.
It's just not there. I also took I'm still like a newspaper kind of person. I get my printed newspapers on the weekend, but the Age, Fin Review, Australians, I took them off my phone as well. So, suddenly now when you're on the tram, you're not scrolling away. You're actually I don't know, I'm listening to a podcast or sometimes even nothing. It's very refreshing.
It actually is, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
At the end of the day, trying to get to bed at a normal time helps a lot. Trying to eat relatively right is also very helpful. But yeah, they're my never finish a holiday without having already booked the next one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't got that one right yet, but I can feel the wisdom in it.
It really helps. There's so many things. There's so few things you can control that if you can, the things that you can control, you really, really should take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's true. Brad, what's next for you?
Well, I still have a business and lots of investors that have invested a lot of money, and a big team that still expect a lot of things from Hub. So I am absolutely, still completely focused on, I want you probably only get actually some people only ever get one, some people get none, but you're probably never going to have more than a couple of big opportunities for your way in your life. And, whether that's being part of a championship team that goes all the way, a career that oversees a deal or does something that is just truly amazing. So and I'm 48 at the moment, so I think 48. So I may well have another business or two in me. There's still heaps of time there, but with Hub, I've got an opportunity for that to be one of those things where I want it to be big and something that has made an impact to lots of different people. I also want to see it through to be a positive impact for shareholders and a positive impact for me. One of the things when I look at Hub over the coming years, over the next couple of years, look, I can give you AI pessimist and optimist scenarios, but both of them are going to end up with the role of the office will be when you are doing that really high value human stuff.
Yes.
And I think also against the backdrop of all of the things we've talked about, where people are going to want to do things on flexible terms. The medium and long term case for our industry, I think, is great. And particularly that need to focus on an experience that does bring the human to human in amongst all of the technological advances, I think is actually just going to be a really great space to be, that we can both have a great business, but also have a great impact on people and their days at work and their community.
Yeah.
So, we're Australia focused at the moment. That may expand at some point, but there's a lot of places that we're not in Australia at the moment. Flex and co-working probably makes up 3 or 4% of the total commercial office in the market. So there's a really big market there of potential for us to grow into, especially when we're focused around that hospitality and experience side of things. So as we see more and more around a lot of businesses that are going to need to have a requirement to bring in sustainability reporting. Hub was the first globally to be certified carbon neutral as a workplace. And, we're seeing more and more people like that. That also is part of a decision point that somebody can make that feeds into building that community and building that culture on where you choose to have your office.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of different growth opportunities for Hub, as we go into the next years.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, no, it is. Creating we made a decision about 6 years back, which in hindsight is one of those, it's so obvious, it's not rocket science, particularly for our industry of, we signed ourselves up to the Great Place to Work program, and it's an annual certification.
Yep. We got ours last year.
Oh, hey, congratulations.
Yep.
We're up to 6 years now. 6 years, hopefully it'll be 7 shortly. But more so all that data and the commitment around doing that one. Like,
Totally.
Our scores have gone up, they've gone down, but we've remained certified now for that long.
Yep.
But it, I have more fun when I'm part of a great place great place to work, and I can feel it when the culture's going up and down. But we know that if we, the revelation, as obvious as it seems, that if we create a great place to work for our team, it's a pretty good chance they're going to create a great place to work for our customers.
Yes.
And that's been like this virtuous circle. So, doubling down on that in terms of what next for Hub, that's absolutely a part of what we want to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Brad, my final question, if this was your last podcast, is there anything you would want a listener to leave with?
There we go. I would highlight a couple of the things. Definitely, please pick a workplace that suits your business. It will help your business. It'll help your team. So please do take the time to really go around there. There is a right workplace for you. And hopefully it'll be Hub, but you know what? There's lots of other workspaces, and almost what I'm saying there, it might not be Hub. So take the time to choose the right one, right one for you. Like the experience matters. The good old there is the right capital at the right time, and there's the right people at the right time, and really just understanding that play there is something that you just got to constantly have it at the back of your mind, because it's almost your job as a CEO there is trying to get all of those things in alignment, because it's when they're like when cash or people or product and customer, they're not in a line. That's where things go wrong, and most of the time they're not. So you're constantly trying to figure that out, and then probably the other big one for me is just recognizing just how often I'm not in control of the plan and something else happening that will need me to pivot. And so I've really just learnt that I have to figure out how to have the stamina to keep twisting and turning and trying to bring my A game in as often as I can.
Yeah. Brad, thank you so much for joining me.
No worries. Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity.